My mom pretended to have multiple sclerosis for almost a decade. While I mopped her floors, skipped meals, and gave up art school for her, she sat on the couch watching TV, claiming her legs weren't working today. When I finally asked her why she faked it, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because it worked." I didn't argue. I just walked out. That was 11 months ago. Today, she was crying in a jail cell when they showed her the footage. I was 13 when Evelyn, my mom, got diagnosed. We were already broke, living above a laundromat in Pine Hill. After she slashed her warehouse hours to almost nothing, my older sister Naomi, then 17, picked up 12-hour shifts at a gas station. And me? I dropped every after-school activity I cared about. Dance, art club, yearbook committee, gone. Instead, I cleaned our crumbling apartment, cooked whatever we had in the pantry, and learned how to tuck in my mother like a child when the fatigue hit her. What kept me going wasn't guilt. It was hope. Hope that maybe if I did enough, she'd see me, appreciate me, love me. But the thank yous and hugs and whispered, "I love you," as were always reserved for Naomi. At first, I told myself I was being petty. Naomi was helping too. She deserved it. Then came my 16th birthday. I didn't have friends to invite. I just wanted a quiet night in. I asked Naomi, now 20 and living in Ferris Park with her boyfriend, Matt, if she'd come watch a movie. She showed up with a plastic bag holding a store-bought ice cream cake. We sat on the couch watching The Notebook. It was awkward, but for a brief second, I felt seen. Then Mom cut the cake. Cookies and cream. Naomi's favorite. I'm severely lactose intolerant. "First slice for our birthday girl," she said, smiling brightly. Then handed it to Naomi. I swallowed hard. Tried to remind myself that Naomi sent money home. That she did a lot. Then Mom pulled out a gift basket, stuffed with Naomi's favorite snacks. "Just a little thank you," she said. My throat burned. I quietly slipped into my room, not because I was mad, just because I couldn't let them see me cry. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps on the stairs. My chest tightened. Maybe they were coming to check on me. Nope. It was just Mom. She didn't knock. "You need to appreciate your sister more, Ren," she said, standing in my doorway like she was delivering wisdom. That was it. I finally asked her the question I'd been carrying for years. "Why don't you ever say anything nice to me?" I said. "Why don't you tell me you love me?" She paused, then replied, "If you can't be grateful for Naomi, maybe this house isn't for you." Time stopped. Every late night, cleaning the bathroom while she watched soaps. Every meal I skipped so she could eat. The art school rejection letter she brushed off because we couldn't afford it, just weeks before Naomi got a $2,000 camera. All of it came rushing back. "You're right," I said. I stuffed my life into 2 garbage bags. Deep down, I hoped she'd stop me. Cry. Apologize. Anything. But she just walked out of the room. So that's how I spent my 16th birthday. Riding a city bus with swollen eyes and trash bags at my feet. Dad opened the door. Still distant, still quiet, but at least he let me in. We sat on the couch in silence. Then he said, "I know it's been tough, but you should really try to be more like your sister." I laughed. A bitter, joyless laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was so damn predictable. My dad's words, "be more like your sister," hit harder than I expected. I didn't reply, just laughed. Sarcastically, coldly. Because if nothing else, I'd finally accepted the truth. My 16th birthday wasn't mine. It was Naomi's, like everything else. I went to bed expecting the day to end there. But it didn't. The next morning, I woke to something strange, voices downstairs. One of them was Mom's. That didn't make sense. She and Dad hadn't spoken since the diagnosis. A new emotion surged through me. Not sadness, anger. I stormed down the stairs and didn't wait for anyone to start talking. "I'm sorry the first time you sold my stuff. It was just to buy Naomi a new backpack," I said. I let it slide. I thought it was just a one-time thing. But you kept going. Mom tried to cut in. "Ren, that's not." I kept going. "I'm sorry I never told you about the days I skipped lunch so you could buy extra groceries," and gave all of it to Naomi. Dad stood off to the side, still holding his car keys. His jaw tightened. His face turned a deep red. That's when I knew he hadn't known the whole story. And now he did. But then something unexpected happened. Mom forgot her bag, and inside, Naomi's DSLR. The same $2,000 camera she got just weeks after telling me art school was too expensive. I didn't hesitate. I snapped a photo of it, posted it on the auction site every family member followed, and added a caption. "Sold. Guess the second kid was good for something." I tagged both Mom and Naomi. Then I turned off my phone. A few hours later, curiosity got the better of me. I turned it back on. Dozens of missed calls. Not just from Naomi and Mom, everyone. It was like I'd pulled a thread that unraveled something way bigger than I meant to. A butterfly effect in real time. The first message I saw was from Aunt Patricia. "Call me. Now." So I did. The second she picked up, she didn't say hi. "Ren, what is going on with you and your mother?" I started explaining everything. The birthday, the years of favoritism, the sacrifices. I even admitted I'd sold Naomi's camera, though I was already regretting it. But Aunt Patricia interrupted me. "No, Ren, I'm not talking about that. I mean the MS. Your cousin Taylor saw your mom last night, at a casino, dancing, without her cane." My stomach dropped. "Wait, what?" I said, my voice shaking. "Taylor was there for a birthday. She said your mom was moving around like nothing was wrong. No cane, no limp. She was drinking, laughing, and on the dance floor for an hour." My mind went blank. Like someone had flipped the switch on a light I didn't even know existed. "Are you sure it was her?" I asked. But deep down, I already knew. I hung up, numb. The puzzle pieces started snapping into place, sharp and bitter. The way Mom's symptoms got worse only when I asked questions. How she always canceled appointments last minute. How Naomi got to go with her to the doctor, but I was told it was too stressful for me. I'd spent years trusting her more than my own instincts. I called Naomi, without thinking. The camera was the last thing on my mind. She picked up, already angry. "If you called to explain the camera thing." "Naomi, wait. I need to tell you something important." She paused. What could possibly be more important than you selling my camera? Aunt Patricia said Mom was at a casino last night, dancing, without her cane. Silence. Heavy and long. Finally, Naomi spoke. That's ridiculous. Taylor must have seen someone else. But her voice wavered. And for Naomi, that meant doubt. Naomi, seriously, have you ever seen her actual medical records? Talked to her doctor? Anyone besides Mom herself confirming the diagnosis? Another silence. Then a breath. Shaky. I'll look into it. She hung up. I stared at the screen in my hand for a long time. If Mom had been faking her illness this whole time, then what had my entire childhood been for? The skipped meals. The dreams I'd buried. The years Naomi worked herself into exhaustion. The donations. The fundraisers. The pity we soaked in. All of it. For what? A few hours later, Dad came home. He looked drained. I couldn't hold it in. Dad, I think Mom's been faking her MS. He froze, then slowly sat down at the kitchen table and put his head in his hands. Oh God, he whispered. I stared at him. You suspected, didn't you? He didn't look up. I did. For a long time. That's part of why we split. I pushed her to see other doctors, but she always refused. She threatened to take you girls away, Dad said. His voice was low, almost ashamed. Told me I'd never see you again. I stared at him. So you just left us with her? I tried to get custody, he replied, eyes brimming. But she convinced the court she needed you, because of her condition. And you both believed her. So completely. After a while, I started wondering if maybe I was the crazy one. My world tilted. The next few days passed in a blur. Naomi called the second night. Her voice was ragged. I checked the medicine cabinet, she said. Half the bottles had the labels torn off. And there's no record of any of the appointments she claimed to have. I looked through her calendars. Nothing. But the final blow came from Matt, Naomi's boyfriend. His aunt worked at the hospital where Mom supposedly got her MS treatments. Matt asked her to check. Nothing. No records. Not one. Naomi showed up at Dad's place the next morning, her eyes puffy, looking like she hadn't slept. We need to talk, she said. We sat around the kitchen table, the three of us. For the first time, we put the full puzzle together. Naomi had lived through the same favoritism, just in reverse. When you weren't around, she said, voice shaking, Mom told me you were lazy, that you never helped, that you were selfish and ungrateful. She looked down at her hands. She made me think you were living the easy life while I worked my ass off. I resented you for years, Ren. I'm so sorry. I didn't say anything. I just got up and hugged her. It felt like meeting my sister for the first time. Dad joined in, finally filling in more gaps. Turns out, he'd been sending Evelyn extra money every month. Neither Naomi nor I knew. Casino trips, Naomi muttered. That's what she did with it. While we couldn't even afford groceries. I asked, so what do we do now? Naomi's jaw tightened. We confront her. I hesitated. She'll just lie. Deny everything. We get proof, Naomi said. She still had a spare key to Mom's house. The plan was simple. Wait until her supposed physical therapy appointment, which we now suspected was her weekly shopping or bar crawl. Go in and plant hidden cameras. It felt wrong. Like crossing a line. But then again, hadn't she already crossed all of them? We waited for her to leave, then slipped in. Naomi, Dad, and me. We placed tiny cameras in the kitchen, hallway, and living room. Every spot where she usually limped with her cane or moaned in pain. Then we waited. What we saw turned my stomach. As soon as she was alone, Evelyn moved like a completely different person. No cane. No limp. She danced while making breakfast. She carried a full laundry basket up the stairs. She even dropped to the floor to scrub something by hand. The exact thing she used to cry about, saying her joints couldn't take it. And then came the worst part. She made a phone call. We couldn't hear the other end. But her words were clear enough. The girls still have no idea, she said, laughing. Naomi sends me money like a good little ATM, and Rin does whatever I say. It's perfect. I felt sick. Naomi was trembling beside me. Dad looked like he was going to be sick. Naomi stood and said, we've got enough. Let's go talk to her. The next morning, we drove to Evelyn's house together. I barely slept the night before. My mind kept looping. Would she deny it? Lie again? Would she finally tell the truth? She opened the door, surprised to see all three of us. Her expression changed instantly. She hunched over, reached for the cane, faked a wince. What's this about? She asked, wary. Naomi stepped forward. We know, Mom, she said. We know you've been faking. Her face flickered, confusion, anger, denial, before settling on pure outrage. How dare you? After everything I've been through? My own children accusing me of lying? She was good. If I hadn't seen the videos with my own eyes, I might have believed her. Then Dad pulled out his phone, played the clip of her dancing in the kitchen, then the one where she mocked us on the phone. The change was instant. Her face went still. The tears disappeared. Her posture straightened. She tossed the cane aside like it was trash. Fine, she said flatly. You caught me. So what? I stared at her. Why? I whispered. Why would you do this to us? She looked at me like I was naive. Like I was stupid. Do you know how much attention and money I got? People admire me. They call me brave. They bring food, send money, feel sorry for me. It's better than working 2 jobs to barely survive. Naomi stepped forward, furious. I worked myself into the ground. Ren gave up her childhood. And you just took? Evelyn shrugged. That was your choice. I didn't force you to do anything. Through manipulation, through guilt, through pitting us against each other, she'd forced Naomi and me into roles that served her needs and erased our own. You made Ren think I was the favorite, Naomi said, her voice breaking. And you made me think she was lazy, useless. You turned us against each other. Evelyn didn't even flinch. It worked, didn't it? She said. Kept you both too busy to question me. I stood there, trying to comprehend it. My mother, someone who was supposed to protect me, had deliberately caused me pain. She had watched me cry, had watched me struggle, and felt nothing but smug satisfaction that her plan was working. We want the money back, Dad said flatly. Everything. What you took from me, What Naomi sent you. The donations from our family and friends. All of it. Evelyn laughed. Right in his face. Good luck proving anything. It's your word against mine. Who do you think people will believe? The poor, sick single mother, or the ex-husband who abandoned his family? She underestimated us. We had the videos. We had the phone recordings. And, as Naomi pointed out, we had something else. The complete absence of any medical records. The fake appointments. The fake treatments. You committed fraud, Mom, Naomi said quietly. That's a crime. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. A crack in the performance. You wouldn't turn in your own mother, she said. But her voice had lost its edge. Watch us, Naomi replied. We left her there, alone in the silence she created. No cane, no sickness, just a woman standing in the ruins of her own lies. As we walked out, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Rage, grief, release. But above all, I felt free. The weight I'd carried for years, caring for someone who didn't care back, was finally gone. The next few weeks moved fast. We reported Evelyn to the police for fraud. We contacted everyone who had donated to her over the years, showing them the footage, the texts, the faked records. Some people were shocked, others skeptical, but the evidence was overwhelming. She tried to twist the narrative, claimed we were vindictive, cruel, that we were attacking her because we were bitter, selfish kids. Some people believed her. Most didn't. The hardest part was untangling my own feelings. Some days I hated her. Other days, I missed the version of her I thought existed. A version that maybe never did. I started therapy. Learned that what she did wasn't just bad parenting. It was abuse. It wasn't my fault. I didn't deserve it. Naomi and I grew closer than we'd ever been. We talked about everything. Our childhood, the lies, the ways we'd been played. For the first time, she wasn't just my sister. She was my friend. I moved in with Dad permanently. He apologized again and again, for not fighting harder, for not seeing through her lies sooner. I forgave him. He was just another victim in her game. About a month later, Naomi and I went back to Evelyn's house to collect the last of our things. We hadn't heard from her, though family said she might be facing charges. The house was eerily quiet. We used Naomi's key. Mom, she called out. Nothing. We started gathering old photos, school projects, things that still meant something. That's when I noticed her bedroom. Closet, empty. Jewelry box, gone. The drawer where she kept her documents, wiped clean. She had vanished. Naomi, I said, I think Mom's gone. We searched the house and found a note on the kitchen table. My hands shook as I read it aloud. Girls, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Don't bother looking for me. I'm not sorry for what I did. I did what I had to do to survive. Maybe someday you'll understand. Or maybe you won't. Either way, this is goodbye. Mom. Naomi and I stared at each other. She had fled. Rather than face what she'd done, she ran. Again, part of me was relieved. I wouldn't have to testify in court. Wouldn't have to relive everything in front of strangers. But another part of me felt robbed. Of closure. Of justice. Of something I could never quite name. We called the police. Reported she'd skipped town. They said they'd look, but deep down, I wasn't sure I wanted them to find her. She would never understand what she'd taken from us. And she'd never be sorry. What now? I asked Naomi as we sat on the front steps of what used to be our home. She looked straight ahead. Calm. Resolute. We move on, she said. We build something better. I nodded. For the first time in my life, I believed we actually could. Evelyn's disappearance was just another manipulation, her last attempt to control the story. But she didn't get to control us anymore. A week later, we got a call from a woman named Susan who worked at a roadside motel 3 hours away. She'd seen our story on the local news. Recognized Evelyn. Said she paid in cash and used a fake name. By the time police checked, she was gone again. But she'd left something behind. A journal. The police reviewed it. Nothing criminal, but handed it over to us. Reading it felt like opening a door into the mind of a stranger. A stranger who once pretended to be my mother. The journal was worse than we imagined. She'd written it like some kind of twisted memoir. Page after page outlining how she researched MS symptoms, how she practiced the limp, the voice, the fatigue, how she manipulated doctors into prescribing her medication without a full diagnosis. She wrote about how easy it was to fool everyone, and how much she loved the attention. But the worst part? She wrote about us. About how she played Naomi and me against each other on purpose. How keeping us angry and distracted helped keep her secret safe. She called motherhood a trap. Said she resented us for tying her down. That if she hadn't had kids, she'd be anywhere but Pine Hill. Her words weren't just cold, they were surgical. Calculated. Like we were pawns in some long con. But in those same pages was evidence. She listed doctors she conned. Bank accounts where she stashed money. Even wrote about other scams she'd run before the MS story. Disability claims, fake charities, forged documents. It was a paper trail she never thought anyone would find. A confession she never expected anyone to read. We handed the journal over to Linda, the detective on the case. She skimmed the first few pages and let out a low whistle. This is gold, she said. If we find her, this will put her away for a long time. If, as spring turned to summer, I stopped checking the case updates. Stopped refreshing my inbox. I focused on healing. Naomi and I rebuilt what we'd lost. Dad and I started having actual conversations, not just shared silence. And I started figuring out who I was without being someone's unpaid caretaker. I went back to school, made friends, signed up for a community center art class, the first I'd ever taken. One evening, I was in the garage-turned-art studio at Dad's house, finishing a painting, when Naomi showed up. She leaned in the doorway, watching. You know, she said. Mom always said you weren't talented enough for art school. I glanced up, trying not to flinch at the memory. Well, Naomi continued. She was lying about that too. This is really good, Ren. A warmth bloomed in my chest. For once, I believed her. Thanks, I said quietly. Naomi stepped closer. I want to help you apply to that art school, the one Mom said we couldn't afford. I've been saving. Between that and scholarships, we can make it work. I set my paintbrush down. Emotion caught in my throat. Really, it's time we stop living the lives she assigned us and start choosing our own. We hugged, and in that moment, I realized something important. Yes, my mother's betrayal broke something in me, but it also freed me. For the first time in my life, I was becoming me. Not the invisible daughter, not the housekeeper, not the replacement mom, just Ren. I didn't know if Evelyn would ever face justice, but I knew this much. She didn't own us anymore. We were building something better from the ruins she left behind. A real family, one made of honesty, of choice, of love. That felt like the biggest victory of all. Then, one Tuesday morning, nearly 6 months after she disappeared, I got the call. I was getting ready for art class when my phone rang. Linda, we found her, she said. My heart stopped. I told her I'd call her right back and phone Naomi. She left work early, and 20 minutes later, we were on a three-way call. Where is she? Naomi asked. Atlantic City, Linda said. She's been working at a small casino under the name Sarah Johnson. I almost laughed. Sarah was Evelyn's middle name. Johnson was our grandmother's maiden name. Real original. What happens now? I asked. We're bringing her back tomorrow. The fraud charges are solid, especially with the journal and the footage. I wanted to give you both a heads up before it hits the news. After we hung up, Naomi and I sat in silence. Part of me wanted closure. Part of me wished she'd stayed gone forever. Are you going to see her? Naomi asked eventually. I hesitated. I don't know. You? Naomi sighed. I think I have to. Just once. I need to look her in the eye and make sure I understand. She's really not who I thought she was. I nodded. I understood that feeling. Some fantasies die hard. The next day, Naomi picked me up. We drove to the county detention center together. Dad had offered to come, but this was something we needed to do alone. We waited in a bland room under fluorescent lights until they brought her in. I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was bleached blonde. She'd lost weight. But what struck me most was her posture, confident, controlled. No cane, no limp, no sign of the sick woman she used to pretend to be. She sat down across from us, calm as ever. Hello, girls, she said, like this was a casual brunch. Naomi didn't waste time. Why did you do it? Evelyn shrugged. I told you. It was easier than working. I leaned in. No. Why did you treat me the way you did? Why did you make me feel like I was nothing? Something flickered in her eyes. Regret. Maybe, but it vanished just as quickly. I needed someone to keep the house together, she said. You were better at it. She was better at bringing in money. Evelyn said flatly. You were better at the house. I used you both where you were most useful. The words hit like a slap. No remorse. No love. Just cold calculation. In that moment, it became brutally clear. Naomi and I were never daughters to her. We were tools, interchangeable parts in the machine of her comfort. Appliances, not people. Naomi's voice cracked. Did you ever care about us? At all? Evelyn tilted her head, as if genuinely pondering it. I suppose I did in my way. When you were babies. Before things got complicated. That was it. We didn't stay much longer. There was nothing left to say. No apology, no redemption arc, no final moment of clarity. She was exactly who she had always been. And we finally saw her clearly. As we walked back to the car, I felt something surprising. Not grief. Not even anger. Relief. That last thread of hope. The fantasy that someday she'd change, become the mother I'd always needed, was finally gone. And with it, the guilt. The sense of responsibility. The burden. Naomi glanced at me. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, I actually am. And for the first time, I meant it. Life moved forward. Her trial was quick. The evidence, the journal, the videos, the bank accounts, was overwhelming. She was sentenced to 5 years for fraud, with parole possible after 3. Naomi and I didn't attend the sentencing. We'd said our goodbye already, in that sterile visitation room. Dad helped me apply to art schools. To my shock, I got into my dream program, with a partial scholarship. Between that, Dad's help, and Naomi's insistence on contributing, I was able to go. For once, I wasn't doing something to survive or earn approval. I was doing it because I wanted to. That summer, Naomi and Matt got engaged. She asked me to be her maid of honor. I cried like a baby when she asked. Planning the wedding brought us even closer. We texted each other ridiculous dress ideas, and joked about whether we should send an invitation to prison. Dark humor, it turned out, was one of the ways we coped. That fall, I moved into my dorm. Dad helped hang my paintings on the wall, made sure I had groceries, hugged me long before he left. I'm so proud of you, Ren, he said. I know it doesn't make up for everything, but I want you to know that. After years of being invisible, being seen still felt new. But it was everything. My roommate, Taylor, was a photography major with a brutal sense of humor and a heart of gold. She didn't mind the occasional nightmares, the quiet days, the grief that lingered. When I told her about my mom, she didn't flinch. She told me her own dad had been emotionally abusive. I get it, she said simply. And I think she did. Around Christmas, something unexpected happened. A letter from Evelyn arrived. I nearly threw it away, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a short note and a small key. This opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank. What's inside belongs to you. I should have given it to you years ago. No apology. No explanation. Just her name at the bottom. I called Naomi. She drove down the next day. Together, we went to the bank. Inside the box was over $30,000 in cash, and something stranger. Photos, drawings, bits of our childhood. Pictures of me as a baby in her arms, smiling. Crayon scribbles I barely remembered. Report cards with circled A's. Even a lock of my baby hair tied with ribbon. At the bottom, another note. This is your college fund. I never spend it, even when things got tough. The rest are things I saved before I changed. I don't expect forgiveness. Just know, there was a time I was a real mother to you. Naomi and I sat there in silence, trying to process this ghost of a woman who might have once been kind, loving, real. What do you think happened to her? I asked. Naomi shook her head. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. We decided to split the money. She used her half toward a down payment on a house with Matt. I kept mine for college, but used some of it to buy a camera. A good one. I started photographing people for my paintings, capturing the truth in their faces, their eyes. Maybe I was trying to understand people better, or maybe I was just trying to see them, because I spent so long never being seen. The photos and keepsakes from the deposit box didn't erase what Evelyn had done, but they were proof that once, she hadn't been a monster. And there was some small comfort in that. Life went on. I poured myself into my classes, discovered I had a talent for portraiture. Even the toughest professors took notice. I made friends, went on a few dates, started building a life of my own. Naomi and Matt's wedding was beautiful. I cried, but this time, they were happy tears. Dad met someone new, Mary. She came to my first art exhibition and knew the name of every painting I'd hung. Sometimes people would ask me, have you forgiven your mom? Like that's the natural end of every story. Like that's the only acceptable resolution. The truth was harder. I didn't hate her. Hate took energy I didn't want to waste. But forgiveness? That suggested closure. Healing. And some wounds don't heal the way people think they should. What I learned instead was acceptance. I accepted that Evelyn was deeply flawed, that she hurt me, that she may have been sick in ways I'll never fully understand. But I also accepted that her failure didn't define me, that her lies didn't erase my worth. On the 1-year anniversary of her sentencing, Naomi and I had dinner. We didn't plan it that way. The date just happened to line up. But when we realized it, we decided not to ignore it. Naomi raised her glass. To surviving. I clinked mine against hers. To more than surviving. To actually living. And for the first time, I felt it. Not just freedom from Evelyn, but freedom to be myself. She had taken so much from us. Our childhoods. Our confidence. Our trust. But in the end, she couldn't take our future. That belongs to us.